Hello, everybody. I'm Stephanie. I'm so excited to be here with Cathy on Shame to Shine. Cathy is a menopause midwife here to share about how menopause doesn't have to be viewed as a time of shame, but can really be a path to sovereignty. So I am very excited to dive into this. Cathy has personal experience and has also coached hundreds of women through it. So let's dive right in. Cathy, will you tell us about this shame that you've noticed around menopause that you want to help address?
Yes, of course. Well, the shame has a long history, um, and things have evolved. But, just going back to when I was an adolescent and my own mother was going through menopause, which was, I'm 60 now. So that was 45 years ago. Um, it was very, very much taboo. Women went through menopause alone and they didn't talk about it. And it looked like, from where I was standing as an adolescent, it looked really terrible and painful and lonely and confusing. And um, just my mum looked like a sort of island, an unsupported island. And so then, obviously, as time has gone on, the last 10 years, I started doing this work sort of collectively, teaching it to groups 10 years ago.
Mhm.
And I have to say, 10 years ago, many more people unfriended me when I put things on social media, because it was still very much, um, not taboo, but a sort of delicate subject, let's say. And in the last year, it's really, really become much more open. However, I still feel there's a lot of shame around it, because the what happens when a subject gets very, very popular, as with anything, it gets taken by the mainstream, and that becomes the main noise. And I really believe that menopause is a deeply feminine inner journey that we have to live through a feminine language. It's not at all left brain. It's not at all out there. It's an underworld journey, which is very much the feminine aspect of the psyche. And so the mainstream, not always, but tends to hijack it and then has a certain dialogue and narrative that it puts in the forefront. And that becomes, what women believe about their own journey. And so that noise gets very noisy. And it is also linked, I believe, with, a lot of industrial supplements and hormones. And I'm not saying anything against any of this, but it isn't at all the whole story. Menopause is much more than a physical journey. It's an emotional, mental, spiritual journey that also touches the collective. So that it's a massive initiation. What other initiation lasts 2 to 10 years on average? It's a biggie.
Yeah. Why do you think there's so much shame and taboo around menopause?
History again. History and patriarchy, I have to say it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying men, I'm saying patriarchy. And I think you have to be very clear. Patriarchy has become a power system. It always was, but it's now the dominant power system and has been for generations. So a power system with, patriarchy means the rule of the father.
Mhm.
So if you have a system that is both ingrained in the dominant Western cultures. And actually, the deepest journey of menopause is reclaiming the feminine. But what we reclaim will never fit into patriarchy. It
Yeah.
can't, because it's not a power system.
Yeah.
And so there's this, unsaid need to control the potential of the older woman. And we've seen this throughout history. I mean, I come from Europe, and, in the 14th and 15th century, women were killed en masse. Just, mainly older women, some younger women, but for being deeply feminine was really the crime. So it's based on a history, but it's also based on a fear of the older woman that is deeply entrenched in the psyche. And so women are themselves don't know what it is to be completely whole, because in order to survive, every generation has had to fit into this power system. And so to fit in means there are certain ways that I learn that it's acceptable to be feminine. And there are certain ways that I have to, certain parts of myself I have to abandon. And so over generations, these abandoned parts have gone deeply into the underworld. They're in the dumpster of our psyche, and I also think that it's not about, redeeming the goddess and there we are as these beautiful goddesses. When we redeem these parts, it's terrifying
Yeah.
because they, with the message we've got is that don't go there.
Yeah.
You'll die. This is not acceptable. You will no longer be accepted in society. You will be shunned. So that journey needs to be supported because it can be very frightening.
Well, I already feel the energy talking to you because I'm 38 and in my own experience so far have gone through just a couple of rounds of realizing how much I had abandoned the parts of myself that were very feminine that I didn't feel like fit in. And and menopause, as you're talking about, has kind of been rebranded into like you're no longer useful to society because you can't bear children and
Yeah,
like your life is kind of over and you're saying like that in your experience in your own life and your own work it's actually very much the opposite that this is a time of
absolutely.
deep empowerment. So
Yeah.
tell us more about whether it's your own journey or clients' journeys of how that switch happens, of even navigating the from the thought process of this is, oh no, like I'm coming to the end of my value as a woman in mainstream society and how you start to acknowledge and face that narrative.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's important to say that again, in this patriarchal power structure that we're all forced into, um, patriarchy has decided that the power of women is their youthfulness and their, fertility. And that's, one power because we need to reproduce. It's a biological necessity to reproduce. But we don't stop there. We have a journey that is a journey of individuation, as they say in depth psychology. It's a journey of becoming more and more whole. So, what actually happens, and I witness this all the time, and this is part of what I love about my work, is that women get to a crossroads, and often because the psyche is a self-regulating system, and psyche is our physical body, but it's also our emotional body, mental body, spiritual body. It's a self-regulating system, and the hormones trigger all these parts of ourself to be in transition mode or initiation mode at menopause. And often things in our outer life, many women get to a point in their outer life, they feel like that the biggest crossroads of their life. Oh, my children have left home. I'm divorcing. I can't do this job anymore. I can't live like this anymore. I've got cancer of my, uterus or breast cancer. All these things come up. And then we have a choice. This happened to me. I got cancer, and other things happened. So in a way, that's the physical life, but it's pulling us into reassessing. That's what any initiation is. In shamanism, and this is really, I love to say, menopause is like a shamanic initiation of the feminine. And in shamanism, we go into the underworld and we're really dismantled.
Mm.
All these parts of us are taken apart. Like Inanna, when she goes down the seven gates, she has to leave a part of her external power of a woman behind, and she gets to the bottom and she's naked, and then she's killed by a Rishikakil who's really a part of herself. It's the dark goddess, and she's hung like a piece of flesh on a hook. Well, that's what happens to us. We're dismantled. All the things we thought about ourselves, all the values we had about ourselves, all the things we believed about ourselves because of society, all the things we inherited that are still undealt with from our mother lines, all this comes up and we have to take it all apart. And then the beauty is, if we learn the language, if we're well supported, because it's not the language of, it's not the language of the left brain, it's the language of sacred symbolism, dream work, metaphor, myth, nature, it's art, deep journaling, whatever it is. We have all these new tools, or we have a toolbox, aroma, and we piece ourselves together. We sew the parts together. That's a heroine's journey. The sperm, the hero's journey is very, very direct. And, women have a masculine side. It's like that sperm has to get there as fast as it can in a straight line, needs to be number one, needs to get there first. And that's fine. And women have a part of them that is their inner masculine, but we have to honor the feminine. And it's not at all the same journey. It's a journey of repiecing things together, like women and patchwork quilts with old pieces of this and that. Find, this piece, I've been waiting for this piece. Here it goes together. And gradually we build this beautiful quilt that we pass down to our descendants. So it's really a shamanic journey if we allow ourselves. And we have to allow ourselves by trusting something deeper than anything we've known before. We have to trust the feminine. It's like when a baby's growing in a woman's uterus, all we can do is trust. The baby grows in the dark. Yes, we have scans today, but we just have to trust that when the time is right, and we can't force it, the baby will be ready to be born with all its fingers, toes, and organs intact. We trust. Yeah. And this is the same as our own rebirth. We have to trust. We go into the underworld. We can't control it. We don't know what date we're coming out. We just have to trust and allow this growth to happen by using this other language, by using these tools. And one day we will be reborn. Most women think, God, when's this going to end? And then one day you turn around, I'm back. I'm back onto the surface, and I'm different. I'm reborn. I will no longer, say yes to these things that actually go against my true self. And this is the voice we need in the world. I mean, look at the imbalance in the world.
Mm-hmm. What are some other things that have come up? So this idea of boundaries and integrity and self-respect, I'm totally hearing that. And I'd love to hear what else generally comes up. And then I even have a specific question around beauty, because we see so much plastic surgery to keep us young. And like, how does the initiation, I imagine it's very individual, but how does that influence how you have seen yourself and other women have seen themselves in graceful aging?
Well, one thing that's important to understand is that, or to question, what is emotional and psychological maturation in a woman?
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
Mm-hmm.
And in my experience, in my own journey and working with all these women, is that actually, if you take the anatomy of the psyche, when we are in our fertile years, even if we don't have children, even if we don't want children, our hormonal journey is always, every cycle, there's a possibility of having a baby, or not having a baby, getting pregnant. And so our emotional, mental, spiritual journey is also about our lives, our jobs, our relationships, our homes, our projects. And then what happens as we go through this initiation of menopause is the collective unconscious. An older woman no longer has this estrogen dominant hormonal direction. It changes. And what I've seen happen is we are more in contact with the collective unconscious aspect of our psyche. So we are part of the collective unconscious, and it's part of us. So we're more able to see how the archetypes play in our life. We're more able to see that our mother line from the mitochondrial DNA, which is maternal inheritance, is still alive in us. And there are things, there are gifts to take and offer to the world, but there are also traumas to heal.
Mm.
We're more able to see that whatever we do and however we journey to become the best version of ourselves, that will ripple out into the world. There is our inner work will have an effect on the world. So that's the collective aspect. In terms of the collective aspect and all the pressure on women to stay young, and all this sort of filler and uh, stuff is, for me, so we have everybody has a contrasexual partner in their psyche. So we have, in biology, you need a sperm and an egg to come together to reproduce. In
Mm.
the psyche, in order to birth the best version of yourself,
Mm.
in order to birth, yourself in your soul's purpose, you need these two forces to come together. So you could say it's yin and yang, conscious and unconscious. But I say, like some of the people that I've learned from, masculine and feminine, because we are on the shoulders of partners who are masculine and feminine forever. And our biology is that, even if it happens in a petri dish. So
Okay.
women have an inner masculine. However, and this is key, a lot of the work, and Marion Woodman, who I love, is a Jungian analyst. She's dead now. She brought depth psychology into the feminine. Is that, however, throughout patriarchy, this relationship between the masculine and the feminine has been affected. So women carry an inner tyrant often. The main, the question is, what's your relationship with your inner masculine? We can see often what it's like by looking at our outer relationships with men. But what happens is this inner masculine has got bigger and bigger and bigger, not just in the world, in patriarchy, not just in men being, identifying with patriarchy, but in women. But it's inside, it's internalized in women. So I believe that women who really will go to the extremes financially and cutting their faces together, putting all this filler in, spending all this money, looking really at only the external journey, is that their inner masculine is possessing them.
Mm.
They are possessed by the false message of society inside themselves, of this masculine rule of the father saying, you will only be loved, you will only be accepted, you can only turn up in this world if you are our version of what it is to be a beautiful woman. And, even when you look at it, it isn't beautiful. It isn't beautiful. As women age with all this stuff, it looks sclerotic because there's no life. And the real beauty is inside ourselves. The real beauty is our wisdom. Our real beauty is our experience. Our real beauty is the ability to hold space and healing space in the world. That is what a woman's journey of experience is. And that is being taken away from us. And we're being hoodwinked by our inner masculine as much as by the outer masculine. So part of the work of this initiation of menopause is, and Marion Woodman said this, the more you go into the feminine, the more you have to look at your relationship with the inner and outer masculine. It comes through the journey of the feminine.
Mm.
And the model of health, inner health, is a sacred inner union.
Mm.
So how does my masculine, does it cherish me as a woman, a natural woman, a wild woman, a woman in her entirety? Or is it saying, you better turn up looking how I want you to be. You better be nice, be polite, be kind, be all these things that we say women are. But don't roar, don't roar, don't turn up as a leader.
Yeah. That is so fascinating to hear you say because I almost selfishly and am hoping that listeners are also resonating with some of the same issues that I am still addressing internally, where I've gone through a few initiations, but have found that my expectation of myself to present a certain way is is heightened, and there's a lot of pressure and like a lot of anxiety that I feel around seeing more fine lines and wrinkles and seeing my body change, even though I feel very physically fit. And I have two plastic surgeons in the family, so there's a lot of plastic surgery, even talk about the good that it can do for women to make them feel good about their bodies. And so I'd love to hear from you. when women do go through this journey, is it possible that you really do heal and find that acceptance where the inner masculine can accept and like be happy to show up in your
It's a
beauty?
journey of life. It's a journey
Yeah.
of life.
Yeah.
It is the journey. And, one of my teachers told me, so I lived in France for 25 years. So in French, it's d'être soi-même et sans danger. But in English, we say, to translate it would be the safest place someone can be is true to themselves,
Mm.
but true to their true psyche.
Yeah.
So when we're changing things about ourselves, we're already saying, I don't like my true self.
Mm.
And how does the soul come through? It comes through our expressions. It comes through our voice. It comes through our faces and our eyes. It comes through our movements. So if we start to tinker around with it all, we are actually not safe because we're saying, as I am in my truest form, as my soul wants to turn up in its natural form, I'm judging myself
Yeah.
and I don't like it. So I'm going to do something so I'm not myself, which means we're not safe.
Mhm.
Safe is being grounded in who we're meant to be. It's trusting nature.
Mhm.
It's trusting, the feminine. Feminine is matter. The masculine aspect of life is spirit. It's the sun. And the feminine is matter. It's the cycles. It's the moon. It's our bodies.
Yeah.
So we as women are saying, oh, well, we don't trust our body. We need to change it so the masculine can shine it and say, oh, what is going on? What is going on? I mean, talk about fucked up. But also, excuse my language, but it's the way that society as a whole treats nature.
Yeah.
In the same way as we treat nature as a society, patriarchal based society, is the way we treat our own bodies. We rape it, we pillage it, we don't see it as alive.
Yeah.
We see it as a resource we can take from
Mm.
and exploit. We're
Mm.
doing the same thing with our body
Mm.
where actually menopause is about spiritualizing matter,
Mm.
realizing actually in its truest form, there is so much wisdom in matter. Look at a woman who's going to have a baby. She doesn't know her first baby. Her body is in tune with nature, the cycles, the rhythms, the creation, the birth.
Mhm.
There's something so powerful about nature and we're destroying it. I mean,
Yeah. And this is just so timely, and I'm feeling a lot of inspiration and even this idea to start within and to start with any sort of practices of self-acceptance. And I know that you specifically work with women either in premenopause or going through menopause. Share a little bit about some of the resources you offer or what it's like to enter into your community.
yeah. Well, now I work with a collaborator who did my program twice and my mentorship because I really work on the emotional, mental, spiritual aspect, and she comes in and does sort of natural herbs and other stuff to support women on that level. But really, it's about I don't know if you know what the feminine mysteries are. So in the ancient Greek epoch and even more ancient, there were these schools and temples
Mhm.
where there were priestesses who taught women about what it was, the deep feminine mysteries, which is they taught women to go into the underworld to have this language of the feminine so that women could take a role in society of making this juncture between our emotional, mental, spiritual selves. That was their role. And so in a way, the program that I teach, the first program is about leading women into themselves, teaching them what are the tools they need, what's the roadmap.
Mm.
And, because each woman's journey is unique, but there are certain ways of getting there. But if people are interested in finding out, I have a website with some very good free resources. So it's called menopausealchemy.com. And if you go to the resource section, there's a beautiful PDF in depth by my collaborator. And there's a 180-page workbook that's called the Alchemy of Menopause workbook, which I created in my own journey.
Mm.
So my husband's a psychiatrist. He's a Jungian psychiatrist. And so when I found myself at this crossroads with cancer, with a son who was stuck in France, and there was difficulties in alienation, there was lots going on, and I knew I had to do something. And I had my hysterectomy as well because of the cancer, and I was introduced to psychological alchemy, which I used as a roadmap, and I couldn't believe how just having this roadmap, my psyche was showing me everything I needed to do to heal. There's a long line of women in my motherline, and myself. And at the end of this journey, my voice was my own once, for the first time in my life. And I'd always been dissociated because of trauma in my line and in my own life. And I suddenly was here. And so that workbook that really was my own journey through became a book for women. So both those things women can get free on my website, and just start to, have a look, have a feel, dive down into the underworld. Because the other thing, and I think I'd like to end on this really,
Sure.
is what I experience is that once women get the roadmap, once they're supported in circle, they run with it.
Mm.
It's like the fruit is ripe. The fruit is ripe, and there's this. There are hard moments. We have to face our difficulties. We have to let go of what's no longer ours. We have to reclaim these terrifying parts that we've been told are not, acceptable, that are deeply part of us. But in all that, there's this inspiration. There's this like, wow, why didn't I go here before? This is where it's happening.
Ooh.
And Jung himself said, I've been rereading, this is Jung's biography, and he says, at the end of his life, he looked at all the experiences of people, places, and things, and external happenings, and it was everything had paled to non-existence. What really counted was his inner life. And so, the question is, when we're ready to be a crone, which is at 80 years old, the rest is sovereignty, and we face ourselves as we go into the next realm, all that filler, all that external stuff, nobody cares. But what you've done inside is what carries you through.
Mm.
That's you. That's you. And we live in such an upside down world. It's frightening. It's frightening to see what's happening in the news, but it's frightening to think that we're not even educating our children to listen to their soul.
Oh, that it's so gorgeous. Thank you for sharing. We'll make sure to have all of those links. And I imagine that these resources are relevant for really any woman wanting to go through initiation. Would you say so?
Absolutely. In the program, we have women who are getting ready. I have 38, 40-year-old women who are
Mm.
like, wow, let me get some of this sorted before I actually go through the portal.
Yeah.
And then women who are post-menopause, who either bring their experience or who feel they missed it somehow.
Okay.
This is the journey of the feminine. It's just that at menopause, it is heightened
Mm.
by this portal that is hormonally triggered. That's
Mm.
all. But this is the journey of the feminine. It's feminine consciousness.
Makes sense. Well, I am
Yeah.
so grateful to you for coming on and sharing your wisdom and encouragement for all women to go into this journey of the underworld and self-acceptance. Thank you, thank you,
Well,
thank you.
thank you. Thank you, Stephanie, for inviting me. Thank you.
Absolutely.